Welcome to the Home Business Podcast with Richard Captain Henderson, publisher of Home Business Magazine, and Sherilyn Colleen, managing editor. This how-to show helps you successfully operate your home-based business.
Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Podcast. I'm Richard Captain Henderson, your skipper at Home Business TV. Let's gear for sea and get underway. Whether you love Amazon or hate it, Amazon is an 800-pound gorilla in the small business, home business arena. Just about every home-based entrepreneur will be involved in Amazon selling one way or another. It could be as a small Amazon side hustle or related product to your core business, or a core business itself as an Amazon seller. For example, at Home Business Magazine, we have to sell our startup guide exclusively through Amazon. As with any business segment, there are critical success factors to being successful as an Amazon seller. So who better to help us better sell on Amazon than Leslie Hensel, co-founder of Riverbend Consulting. Leslie is a seasoned Amazon veteran helping others to grow their businesses through Amazon. So greetings, Leslie Hensel. Welcome to the Home Business Podcast. Say hello.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for dialing in. And you're a Texas gal?
Yes, I am.
You said the Fort Worth area?
I'll be sure and throw in some y'alls just to prove it as we go forward.
Well, I mean, it's a major startup hub. If you look at Texas, kind of like where's the startup entrepreneurial hub? There's a little bit in Austin, but it's just dominating in the Twin Cities of Dallas, Fort Worth. And so are you like close to any other startups that you're like network with or anything out there? Is it, I guess, a benefit for being in the area down there?
There is a large and growing community of Amazon sellers that's who I spend my time with here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, also in Houston, Austin, San Antonio. And the tech explosion here is only helping, because I think when people move here to Texas, the person who got the job with the tech company in the family has their job, and then Amazon selling is a great side hustle for someone who understands tech but may not have that tech job they're moving here for. So yeah, it's a really great place to be for Amazon and for tech.
All right. Well, thanks for connecting in from the wonderful, big, open, big sky of Texas. And Leslie Hensel, let's get to know you better. Talk with us about Riverbend Consulting and your past experiences with Amazon.
Absolutely. I have been a seller on Amazon since 2010. That makes me, I like to say, I'm a grandma on the Riverbend platform, not in real life.
I've never heard it put that way.
Just on Amazon, I'm a grandma, because if you've been selling for 12 years on Amazon, you've been around. The third-party platform only really opened up around 2003, 2004. So I've been on there a long time as a seller, and it's been a family side hustle for years and years for us. And then Riverbend Consulting, we're almost 5 years old. We solve problems for sellers and vendors on Amazon because, let's face it, it is a tough place to sell. If you are a seller or a vendor, you cannot pick up the phone and get someone at Amazon to talk to
I got
you.
to amen that. That is just when I told you about how I have to exclusively sell there. And gosh, it is, you put help in, like if there's a help issue come up, forget it. I mean, plan on stopping what you're doing, and hopefully they'll get back to you in a couple of days. And we really could have benefited from, somebody who knows the ropes on getting through that.
Well, and what's really frustrating and bizarre to many people, some of our clients sell $1 billion a year on the Amazon channel alone. They can't get help either.
Really?
So don't feel like it's just you, because
so I got my
small.
one book, and I wasn't being singled out because I didn't have two books.
Exactly. And that is why our company exists. And our bread and butter is when people get thrown off of Amazon or their products are suspended from Amazon, we help them get back on and stay up and selling.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because the problems we had were getting disapproved for, say, some obscure spec on our cover. And we were just sitting there having to root around and figure out what the heck is this all about. and it would have been good to have a consultant to help guide us on that.
It is unbelievable how challenging the specs are. It doesn't matter what you're selling. They have very specific rules for different categories. And then you can go into the help and search support, and you think the answer is going to pop right up. Their internal search engine on Seller Central and their other platforms is really bad. So you're not even necessarily going to find the information you're looking for. I'm very fortunate in that at my company at Riverbend, we've got 75 employees, but 15 of them are ex-Amazon. And so even though I've been in this Amazon gig for 12 years, sometimes I still can't find an answer. And I've got 15 people who can just rattle off the rules.
That's funny. Same thing with Google. It seems like the people you work with on Google, they'll have like somebody who used to work for Google. I think Google is even a bigger mystery than Amazon, and trying to get help and the whole thing. Yeah, so it's a challenge, and you definitely have a consulting business that's filling a need and grew to fill a need that arose as the market shifted and people went to the Amazon platform. So the Amazon marketplace is very complex and it does seem overwhelming. Leslie, can you very briefly break down how someone would set up being a seller on Amazon?
The important thing to know is you need to treat this the same way you would treat any other business that you're running out of your house or out of an office. Or if you had a brick and mortar store down the street, you're still going to set up an LLC. You're going to get the appropriate insurance. You're going to make sure that you are protected from liability, which you have to have product liability insurance if you sell products on Amazon. You're going to do all of the very basic things, set up accounting systems from day one, track your expenses. I know this all seems so very basic, but a lot of times when people set up these virtual world businesses, they don't set up the systems from the start that they should do for any kind of business.
Maybe they kind of think Amazon's going to take care of those things for them.
Absolutely true. And really the back end, like the accounting systems on Amazon, the reports, they're archaic and they're bad. You cannot rely on them to run your business.
The bottom line, the key thing is to basically going in and you have a product, and then you have to figure out how to configure Amazon to sell it then. And that's sort of the big steps you have to go through with Amazon then.
Yes, and you're going to have to set up your account. They're going to ask you for verification, which means you're going to show them a driver's
so the account
license
setup
or
is
passport.
a big thing you've got to go through.
Yes. So after you've done the basics with setting up your LLC and your chart of accounts and all that good basic stuff, then you're going to go in and sign up on Amazon for a business as an LLC, but they're still going to ask you, hey, I want to see a driver's license or passport, and I want to see a utility bill that matches that driver's license or passport. Essentially, they want to make sure that you're a real human because they're just trying to avoid fraud or money laundering on the platform. So that's the real basics just to get you going.
Okay, so one critical part of succeeding is Amazon is then setting up an exciting brand. Yeah, how can one set up an online brand that stands out from that crowd?
That is such a great question. And people assume it's really hard. It's easier than you might think because other people don't do it the best possible way. You can look at major brands on Amazon that haven't managed their presence well, and their listing detail pages are not effective. So you need great photography, which includes what we call lifestyle images. So you want dogs, babies, and beautiful women in these images where they are holding...
Say that again.
It's true. If you have images of your products being used or next to dogs, babies, and beautiful women, you will sell more. It is just true. You need product videos. You need keywords. So in other words, build a listing that SEO, the search engine inside Amazon, which is called A9, that it's going to jump out there, see your product, understand what it's about, but then have beautiful imagery that helps people understand and visualize how they would use your product.
Okay, I want to bring out a couple key points you mentioned there. One is a video. I guess I hear that's important. It's sometimes tough to do. I'm of the opinion you should try to make it look as authentic as you can. But any advice on that? Should we keep them to I imagine you want to keep them to less than 30 seconds, a short video.
Yes, 10 to 20 seconds is actually the sweet spot for Amazon. Okay. You want it because you will pop up earlier in search, especially on mobile, which more and more products are being purchased on mobile. So Amazon will serve up that video. It doesn't really help just to have like a spinning version of your product on the video. It really helps to have it with a human or with like animation and your branding to be very exciting and catch people's eye. But you've got to get the benefits in there somehow visually.
And you mentioned search engine optimization. I think a key point to bring out that all of these elements that you upload into your profile for the product you're selling, those will get indexed by a search engine.
Absolutely. The title, the bullet points, which usually are long descriptive bullet points, and then you can add keywords on the back end of the listing that are not visible to the public as they're looking at the page. All of those are critical. You have to do some research and figure out which keywords are going to best promote you and also not be the exact same thing that your competitors are already ranking really highly on. So we call those long tail keywords. Those can be really effective at the beginning.
So I made the big advice here is you've got a lot of work to do to get your product up there and get that green and selling on Amazon, but that's only the start. You've got to fill in your marketing mosaic and add other things up there to promote it. And that's an ongoing project in itself. Leslie, are there some other ways to be part of the Amazon marketplace without actually being an Amazon seller?
So absolutely. So if you already have a brand, but you don't want to sell it on Amazon because you don't want to learn the Amazon thing, let's say you've got a product that you've already got in stores or you have on your own Shopify store, you can find an existing third-party seller, or you can hire a company that manages accounts that will launch your brand on Amazon for you. And they will do all the hard work of having the video and the images and the keywords and managing all of this and get you out there on Amazon. Amazon's such an important channel. It's not something you should be ignoring.
Yeah, that's probably what I should have done. The author and myself just kind of ventured into it and started putting up the page for the book. But I think it would have been a big help to kind of go at this as a third party. And then maybe even after it was up, then adopt it as a business you're managing. But that was a tough challenge.
There is a big learning curve. And if it's not something you're going to be invested in and adding products, or if you have a minimal product line, it can make more sense to let someone else have a piece of those sales, because they're probably going to make, I'm not saying for you personally, but for a lot of sellers out there who are already managing Shopify, eBay, whatever else they're doing, you may not really get a great result on Amazon if you don't know Amazon. So it might make sense to outsource that channel to someone else.
The bottom, we're talking, just to make sure the guests understand, we're talking outsourcing, that you're still going to be, it's all going to still be the same selling, but it's how you go about approach setting it up. Leslie, there is a lot of competition in the online marketplace. Just big picture, maybe we should ask this question earlier, but is it still a good opportunity on Amazon? In other words, things are in a growth phase where the line is pointing up, but then everything eventually kind of hits a leveling off phase. Maybe, where do you think we're at with Amazon on that?
There is still so much opportunity on Amazon for two reasons. One is it is the most effective, best, and largest business incubator for launching new products in the history of the world. There is no other place that you can order 500 units of a new product that you have manufactured, launch it, and see if people are going to buy it. That just doesn't exist. And it's not like you can go and get it into a Walmart. It's not like you can put up a Shopify store and have a ton of customers tomorrow without spending a fortune on marketing. So that's number one. And then number two, niche products are the heart of Amazon. There are so many great products out there that when you look at the United States or the world, thousands of people want them, but you're not going to find thousands in your neighborhood because they're niche specialty products. For example, I have bought a lot of products for my special needs kid that were for learning adaptation strategies. You can't go find that down the street. You can find it all on Amazon. There are still so many niches to be explored.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to bring out, that the breadth of products, which kind of ties into running a side hustle or whatever your business is, offering something on Amazon that'll end up being a little bit more nichey. But I think that as I'm looking at your answer there and kind of where the growth phase is on this, I think you're still then the line is pointing up. It isn't going to level off, because the growth in niche marketing and developing niches is getting tougher than ever. What the thing I found with Amazon it's like I could say it's the 800-pound gorilla, and there just weren't a lot of other options. And how else are you going to get a book out there, that unless you want to try to get into the bookstore and that? But like you were saying, it's a matter of you're up tomorrow. Vice, it could take a year to get your product into a traditional retail outlet.
They've already done so much of the marketing work for you. They have some crazy number of, I think it's 160 million Prime customers in the United States. Think about that. That's insane. And so they have this direct line into those people's households where you can do a little PPC advertising, pay-per-click,
yeah,
and
they've got
get
the
your
data.
product in front of them. Yes, absolutely. But if you try and launch your own Shopify store, how much money are you going to spend trying to get people to even come click into your Shopify store?
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't think of before we started talking about it here, is that you're in there, but they already have all the data. And it's probably kind of a closed network where, if you're outside of the Amazon network, you're not going to be able to tap into that data with like a Shopify or something like that. So, I don't know. It is kind of become a monopoly. But, talking a little bit more about this, what are some of the common mistakes Amazon sellers make, and what could be some of the consequences of those mistakes?
So since we've been talking about products that fall under that private label umbrella, if you have an existing product, you're developing a product, the biggest mistake people make there is not getting their trademark and doing the legal things you need to do to protect yourself. Amazon has something called brand registry, where once you have your trademark, you can go in and register your brand with Amazon and keep the counterfeiters and the bad dudes off of your listings, which is super important. There are a lot of challenges, especially with people in other countries, because you cannot sue them and pursue
You
them
can't
the way
enforce
you
your
can
trademark
here.
overseas.
However, you are going to be somewhat protected by having a trademark, because Amazon will still enforce it against people from overseas who attack it on the US platform. But if you don't bother to get the trademark and register it, you got nothing.
That's a really good point. So you're saying they honor your traditional legal documentation in the United States for a trademark, and that can end up protecting you if somebody else comes into Amazon and tries to sell a product that's violating your trademark.
Yes, and same thing for your patents. Amazon will allow you to file an intellectual property claim against someone who's violating your patent on the platform as well.
Interesting. Anything else you can think of with common mistakes made?
Absolutely. You have to fulfill orders by your promise date. That is the biggest mistake that new sellers who are fulfilling orders themselves, because they want to save the money and they want to build up some revenue.
And then you put it off till tomorrow.
Right. And Amazon has very low tolerance for that. And Amazon customers are spoiled. As an Amazon customer, I'm spoiled rotten. I will order things and they show up the same day or the next day. You cannot leave things unshipped and not fulfill the orders in a timely manner if you're trying to get moving, filling your own.
So people can put reviews up on your performance, how well you've fulfilled getting orders out.
Yes, it's called seller feedback, and people will give you 1 star and say it was late. They will complain it wasn't the product they ordered. That is in addition to the reviews that you see. Everyone sees product reviews, right? There's a separate set of reviews that are on the sellers themselves where people can bash you if they are unhappy with their fulfillment experience.
Yeah, it seemed like we were looking at looking at reviews, but it seemed like you have to actually go through a process. They are legitimate reviews. You can't, it's not something where you're going to get spammed on there.
Amazon has been working hard to have what they call verified reviews. With seller feedback, it is always going to be legit because it is actually linked to their order ID. With product reviews, unfortunately, there are some fake product reviews, some for the better and some for the worse. Amazon is trying to fight those the best they can, but on your seller reviews for your store, those are all real.
Interesting. Well, let's talk a lot about one minefield here. You talked about sellers having their accounts or ASINs suspended. What are some of the things sellers should do? First thing they do if they do get suspended, besides calling you?
So this will sound like cheesy advice, but bear with me. The first thing you have to do is take a deep breath and not react. The biggest mistake that sellers make is to pop off a message to Amazon saying, why did you do this? Or I don't know what you're talking about.
The crisis management, take a deep breath. I also am doing flight training. It's the same thing. Before you, your engine fails or whatever, before doing anything, stop and take a deep breath and think about what it is you're doing.
Absolutely. And the reason you have to understand Amazon's mindset. They believe that if you're suspended, first of all, you're presumed guilty unless you prove yourself innocent. Secondly, you're usually better off admitting that you were wrong, even if you weren't, because that's the ticket to getting reinstated. But thirdly, they expect you to know. So if they tell you you're suspended for used sold as new, people complained that their product wasn't in new condition, they expect you to know why that is. They're not going to tell you why. Now you can look through, there's some reports inside of Seller Central, which is the interface that sellers use. You can read reports and reviews, and you can find usually where people have complained so you can understand. So it's incumbent upon the seller to go discover what the problem was instead of saying to Amazon, what are you talking about?
Just a question on the process. Then if you've been suspended, then you go into some kind of a portal or someplace where you reply back and either say, hey, why this is wrong, or what you've done to fix it?
Yes, they ask for a plan of action.
Okay.
And you click a button that they provide, and it takes you to 3 dialog boxes that you fill in with your plan of action. They want the root cause of the suspension, so you have to explain what you did wrong. They want to know what you've done to address the complaints right now. And then the third and most important part is, how are you going to prevent this from ever happening again?
Like they're taking over the world here. I mean, how have you thought about the process? You've obviously dealt with people who have been suspended. Are they fairly responsive at reading through it and getting you reinstated, or is it like a Google night where it can take forever to lift the suspensions?
So there is definitely a continuum. For perspective, I have personally worked on thousands of ASIN and account suspensions, not exaggerating, thousands.
Wow.
And then my
pretty
team
common then. Yeah.
Oh yes. And then my team has worked on thousands more. There are times when Amazon intends to reinstate. They just want to hear a great plan of action, and they're very responsive. Then there are other times where they do what they call blocking your account. So they don't like your appeal. They block your account and they tell you they're not going to respond to future emails. That's not true. If that were true, I wouldn't be in business. We work past that. We send new appeals, and we also escalate to executives at Amazon. Amazon has an escalation culture. So we have a whole list of executives and teams at Amazon that we have to escalate to. The fastest reinstatement that I've ever personally had was 7 minutes, which is shocking, because it was so fast from the time that my client submitted the plan of action until they got reinstated. The longest was 18 months.
Wow. So what you're saying is no matter what's happened, if you follow a process, you can get reinstated. It can just be a matter of minutes, or you just may need to dig in for the long haul.
So they will talk to you. Most of the reinstatements we work on are, we get someone back up in 2 weeks or so. There are ones that last much longer. It's usually the difficulty of the type of suspension. Forged documents, counterfeit, those are much more difficult. There are some clients who never get reinstated. It is usually, it's a small percentage, but it's based on the severity of the offense. And we have people who admit to us that they did it and it was really bad, and they have to try and save their business, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it's best just to own up. Does they have any kind of probation or type of status where you're allowed to still be on, but they're monitoring you closely, or is it kind of cut and dry? You're either suspended or not. Or do they have a warning or something? Say you got to correct this sometime within 14 days or something like that?
So sometimes they give warnings. Sometimes your warning is that your ASINs, which are your individual items, sometimes your ASINs will get suspended, a few of them for the same reason.
Okay.
That's kind of a warning sign that your account could go down then for that reason. Sometimes they will actually give you a policy warning and say, you must stop doing this thing. And if you keep doing it, you get suspended. And then sometimes they will say, hey, we need a preemptive plan of action. We're thinking about suspending you. This is your big chance. Write a great appeal so that we don't suspend you.
That should start the alarm bells going. Well, Leslie, do you have any more top tips on what an Amazon seller can do in order to be more successful in Amazon?
Absolutely. Really think about how you can differentiate yourself from your competitors. Study competitor listings, study the way they fulfill their products, and make yourself just 10% better. And then my second quick piece of advice, if you have several products on Amazon, you should always be working to improve the quality of your worst one. So whichever one has the most returns or you're making the least margin, always be working on your worst product.
Is it sometimes maybe if you can't really do much with it, maybe look at putting in another product and removing it? Or is it better just to try to work with what you got and improve it?
Sometimes you need to just kill it and not sell it anymore. We call those ugly babies. You don't want to let go of your ugly baby, but sometimes you have to. But a lot of times it's your packaging wasn't good, so it's damaged in transport, or your listing isn't good, you need better photos. See if there's some way to salvage that puppy before you remove the dead baby.
And kind of getting back to what you were talking about earlier, maybe the presentation, the pictures. What do you say? Dog, pretty girl, and what was the other one?
Dogs, babies, and pretty women.
Well, Leslie, as we get ready to wrap things up on our Amazon talk, I love this question. We always ask it. What is one thing our typical listeners should do tomorrow morning to be more successful on getting plugged in with Amazon?
Find a group of sellers either in your area or online that you can talk to brainstorm. Selling on Amazon can feel very isolating because it's not like being an accountant where there's a local association. You need to find groups that you can plug into, and you can reach out to service providers like me to help you find a group, because golly, we know lots of them.
So is the group more for like emotional support, kind of keeping you going, or is it a good way to pick up ideas, or all of the above?
All of the above. You'd be amazed at how much intelligence you can pick up about ways you can improve your account and do better. But then I just think sometimes being an entrepreneur and working from home, it can be lonely. You need some friends who are going through that same slog with you.
Leslie Hensel, this has been a great discussion on growing our business with Amazon. Do you have any final points you'd like to share?
Well, just thank you so much for having me on. And just remember, y'all, there is so much opportunity out on Amazon. Don't let it scare you away at first blush. You can do it. And then kind of talking, you're one of the rare guests that doesn't promote themselves so much, with your consulting company. What are some of the things that you can do to help the process, to help them out, help Amazon sellers out? Sure. We do 3 things. We help you get reinstated. We protect your revenue by keeping an eye on your account over time and getting you reimbursed for lost inventory, very important. And then we also help you to grow. So we can help you get editorial recommendations. We can help with those product videos, listing optimization, which is those great photos with the babies and the dogs.
I got to remember the three things.
That's right. So reinstate, protect your revenue, and grow. That's what we do.
Well, it sounds like with the way Amazon is growing, you're going to have a solid foothold for a while. So, Leslie Hensel, thanks for joining us today on the Home Business Podcast. Learn more about Leslie Hensel and how she can help you being an Amazon seller. Please visit riverbendconsulting.com or our podcast website for more information on guests. Thanks for joining us in this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our website, homebusinessmag.com. Subscribe to our newsletter, visit the Home Business, or read the book, Our Home Business Startup Guide. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or thehomebusinessexpo.com. I'm Richard Captain Henderson saying anchors away. We'll talk with you soon. Until then, make it a great home-based Amazon day.